Have you ever found yourself checking your phone every 2 minutes, your heart in your throat, waiting for a response to that job interview? Or have you felt the weight of every silent hour while waiting for an important message that never seems to arrive? Perhaps you're just desperately wishing for a difficult situation in your life to finally change and bring you peace again. We all know that feeling of impatience when we've done everything in our power, but the outcome is out of our hands. It's a weight that drains you, makes you suffer, and steals the present moment. That's why in today's video, we're going to learn how to transform that struggle into calm. We will discover how to let go of the need for control and cultivate patience, learning to trust the natural cycles of life instead of resisting them. This same internal struggle against uncertainty is what Kai felt, a farmer in ancient China who, after sowing his field, could only do one thing: look at the sky and wait for the rain. His story and what he discovered in the stillness of his field holds one of the most liberating teachings for finding calm in our own moments of waiting. His transformation holds the key to learning how to turn waiting into calm and impatience into trust. If you want to discover it, join me on this journey. Save this video to have it on hand whenever you need it. And if these reflections resonate with you, give it a like and subscribe to continue exploring this path of growth together. Let's begin! Chapter 1: The Pain of Waiting. Kai was a farmer with weathered hands who knew the secrets of the earth well. That year, he had invested not only his labor, but all his hope in the field that stretched out before him. After carefully preparing the soil and placing the seeds, his work was done. Now, the harvest of an entire season, and with it his livelihood, depended on something as simple and uncontrollable as the arrival of the first rain. The days began to pass, slow and heavy, merging one into the other under the same clear blue sky. The hope Kai woke up with each morning would wither by noon, turning into bitter disappointment by nightfall. His present had disappeared, held hostage by the anxiety of a future that wouldn't arrive. His whole life came to a standstill. He stopped enjoying his food, conversations with his neighbors, the simple pleasure of the evening breeze. His mind was trapped by a single thought, a question he repeated like a painful mantra. Will it rain tomorrow? Chapter 2: The Failed Attempt. One afternoon, consumed by helplessness, he decided he couldn't just do nothing. He filled a bucket with the scarce water from his well and walked to the center of the field. With enormous effort, he began to water a small circle of earth, a gesture so small in the vastness of the field that it seemed almost absurd. It was his way of screaming to the universe that he wouldn't give up, that he still had some control. But as the water evaporated almost instantly, he didn't feel control, but a profound loneliness and exhaustion. He realized his struggle wasn't heroic, but futile. He couldn't force life to follow his rhythm. Defeated, he collapsed in the shade of the only old tree in the field, an oak that had stood there long before him. And for the first time in weeks, he stopped looking at the sky. The empty bucket fell from his hand with a thud. For a moment, a wave of rage flooded through him, a fury against the indifferent sky and the stubborn earth. He stamped his foot against the parched ground, but the rock-hard earth seemed to strike back. What good was all his effort, all his knowledge, if the universe didn't respond? The rage vanished as quickly as it had come, leaving behind only an immense emptiness. He no longer had the strength to fight or even to hold on to hope. Chapter 3. The Encounter with Wisdom. With a lost gaze, he observed the tree's trunk, its deep wrinkles, its sturdy branches. He thought of all the droughts that oak must have endured, of all the winters and storms. He understood that the drought was not a final state, but just another season, a part of an infinite cycle of change where nothing, neither abundance nor scarcity, lasts forever. The rain would come, not because he wished for it with all his might, but because that was the nature of the cycle. Then he lowered his gaze to the ground and noticed a trail of ants, working methodically, carrying small leaves, oblivious to the drought. They didn't seem anxious. They didn't look at the sky. They simply did their work moment by moment, trusting in an order greater than themselves. And then he saw it clearly. He wasn't fighting against the field. He, the earth, the seeds, and the sky were all part of one single process. His desire for rain was just one thread in a vast tapestry, and by pulling on it with so much force, all he would do was cause it all to unravel. Chapter 4. Tending to the present. That revelation changed him. The next day, he didn't get up to look at the sky. Instead, he took his tools and went to repair the old wooden fence that surrounded the field. He felt the rough texture of the wood under his fingers, the rhythmic strike of the hammer, the sun on his back. His mind, for the first time in a long while, was calm, anchored in the present. In the following days, he continued with these small tasks. He tended to his tools, pulled the dry weeds, and organized the shed. He stopped waiting for the rain and started taking care of his world just as it was in that moment. And a miracle happened. One night, he slept deeply. The knot in his stomach had disappeared, replaced by a serene acceptance. He had found peace not in the arrival of the rain, but in the stillness of the wait. One afternoon, while sanding a fence post, he felt a change in the air. The wind blew differently, cooler. He looked up and saw on the distant horizon the first dark cloud he had seen in months. A calm smile appeared on his face, and when the first drop of rain fell on his hand, he didn't feel a desperate relief, but a deep and serene gratitude. He stood still in the middle of the field, letting the rain soak him, not as a victor who had finally gotten what he wanted, but as a humble participant in a dance he had finally learned how to dance. Kai's story ends with the arrival of the rain, but the real lesson isn't in the water falling from the sky, but in the peace he found before the first drop fell. His journey is a mirror of our own moments of waiting, our own internal battles against uncertainty. Perhaps you're not waiting for rain for a harvest, but you surely recognize Kai's dry field in your own life. Your drought might be an inbox, waiting for that one email that could change everything, or the silence on the other end of the line, waiting for a call that will define your future. Or maybe it's simply waiting for the waters of a difficult phase in your life to finally calm down. The lesson Kai leaves us with is profound and universal. Serenity doesn't arrive when the outside world finally changes to our liking, but when we learn to take care of our inner world while we wait. Kai's transformation, therefore, didn't happen when the rain came, but much earlier, the moment he stopped fighting against his own impatience. His journey teaches us that suffering is born not from the waiting itself, but from our resistance to it, from our demand that life bend to our deadlines. He found wisdom not by looking anxiously at the sky, but by anchoring himself to the earth he stood on. He understood that his only task was to care for what was within his reach and to trust the rhythm of life for the rest. His true harvest was not the grain that sprouted from the earth, but the serenity he cultivated in the field of his own heart. And now, so you can bring this teaching into your own life, I'd like to propose a very simple practice inspired by Kai's story. We will call it sowing trust. The next time you feel that pang of impatience, that internal rush that steals your peace, stop for a moment. You don't need a special posture or a quiet place. Simply pause. For an instant, feel your feet in contact with the ground. Notice the weight of your body. Become an anchor in the midst of the storm of waiting. Now, take 3 slow, conscious breaths. As you inhale, simply acknowledge the feeling of tension or anxiety without judgment, just as Kai learned to accept the natural cycle. As you exhale, imagine letting go of a bit of that struggle, of that need to force the outcome, leaving space for something new to emerge. With that little bit of calm you've created, bring your attention to your chest. Imagine a small field of dark, fertile earth there, a space of peace within you. And on your next exhale, visualize that you are lovingly placing a small, luminous seed in that earth. It is a seed of trust in the process. Your work is already done. You don't have to do anything else. You don't need to analyze if the seed will grow, or when, or how. Your only task, your only act of power in this moment, was to sow the seed. Now, open your eyes and return to your day, knowing you have planted a small act of faith within yourself. You have chosen to tend to the soil of your present instead of living in the drought of the future. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining us in Kai's story. I hope his journey has left you with a seed of calm for your own moments of waiting. Remember that the deepest teaching here is not just to learn how to wait, but to discover that waiting can be a fertile space for cultivating trust and inner care. Now, I would love for this conversation to continue in the comments. Tell me, what part of Kai's transformation resonated most with you? And what is the rain that you are waiting for in your life? Sharing our stories reminds us that we are not alone in our battles against impatience and allows us to learn from one another. If this story has inspired you or you think it could help someone, feel free to share it, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new stories of transformation. Thank you for your time and your presence. See you in the next video.